All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and we have what is an update. I hope that it is true with the Terence Crawford Canelo Alvarez fight and what Terence Crawford has coming up next. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. And in this video, we're going to be in the I don't know, man. We might be in the 168 pound division, 160 and 168 pound division. As a rumor is floating, and we cannot tell you how true this is, that Terence Crawford is attempting to fight someone before he gets the big fight with Canelo Alvarez. It is going to be a funny opponent, but hey, let's just talk about it. Before we do, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos, which we do on a daily basis. Sorry, got to adjust this mic a little bit. So, all right. Terence Crawford says that he has a big announcement. He has something up his sleeve that he was looking for that's coming up. So people are anticipating that means that he is going to be fighting Canelo Alvarez. If you're not familiar with the situation, let me briefly break it down. You have Canelo Alvarez, who is the 168-pound champion. I don't believe that he's undisputed anymore. I'm pretty sure the WBO or somebody took a belt from him. However, he is the number one guy in the 168-pound division, was undisputed. He has been a 3-belt holder at 160 pounds. He's a belt holder at 154. He's the biggest draw in boxing, except for maybe Gervonta Davis. But if I had to, guess off the numbers that I heard, he's the biggest draw in boxing and has been for several years. So you have Terence Crawford, who is the best fighter in boxing, and I think he's been the best fighter in boxing since Andre Ward retired back in, I think Andre Ward retired back in 2018, something like that. So it's been roughly 6 years of him just being the best guy in the sport of boxing. But he was campaigning at 135, 140, 147, while Canelo is campaigning at 154, 160, and 168. But looks like Terence Crawford, for everybody, for all intents and purposes, has shown that he's the best fighter under 168 pounds. Not saying that he can beat everybody in 160, just saying Terence Crawford is really, really like that. So I want to see this fight that Terence Crawford is calling for. Definitely want to see it. If it was my money to pay for it, I would pay whatever these guys wanted in order to make this fight. I think it is one of the best fight, if not the best fight that can be made in boxing. So when Terence Crawford said that he's got something really great, he's been having it up his sleeve for a while, I hope that he's talking about Canelo. But a report came out from, man, what is a broken clock, right? Once a day. Well, if a broken clock could be right 3 times a day, I would say it's that type of source. There's a chance that this is the case, and that would be that Terence Crawford is going to announce a tune-up with somebody. My understanding is Sergey Derevyanchenko. Now, if you're not familiar with Sergey Derevyanchenko, he is a smaller guy that fights. I do believe he fought at 168 in his last fight, but he was at 160 for a good amount of time. He put up a real good fight with Gennady Golovkin. He put up a really good fight with Daniel Jacobs. This is a really solid fighter at 160 pounds. Now, if Terence Crawford to move up and we're looking to fight Sergey Derevyanchenko, hey man, you can look at it 2 ways. One, if he's looking to go to 160 real fast before he goes to 168 and acclimatize himself to a bigger guy before he gets in there with Terence, I think that's a smart move. I think that many times you've heard people say that they felt like it takes them a little bit of time to get used to a weight class. So Terence jumping to 154 and then wanting to fight at 168, hey man, it makes sense to hurry up and get and fight somebody at 160. And if it's Sergey Derevyanchenko, even if it's pay-per-view, I would pay for the fight. I would enjoy seeing the fight. Now, of course, let's talk about what reality says. Reality, the most likely thing is that Canelo Alvarez is not going to fight Terence Crawford next. We're already walking up on May. Right. So, I mean, it's already mid-January. So you have February, March, April. That fight has to be announced very fast. And you have the people that would be making the fight really talking about doing another card around May with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney being on the same card, and with a fight between, gosh, I couldn't remember who it is, but it's Jaron Ennis versus somebody else on an undercard for them. Teofimo Lopez is what Turkey Al-Sheikh and those guys are talking about. So if that's the case, I mean, I don't understand why they would be fighting with, competing with Canelo in May, but whatever. If they decide to do that, at the very least, that means that Terence Crawford is not fighting Canelo Alvarez in May. So Canelo Alvarez is probably going to go, obviously, fight somebody else. He's going to come back around at the end of the year and fight somebody else that's going to be a not difficult fight. Maybe the third fight in October, but we'll see a lot when Terence Crawford or when Canelo Alvarez picks his next opponent to see whether or not he's really has his eye on Terence Crawford. I just got to tell you though, I do not have a problem whatsoever with Terence Crawford fighting Sergey Derevyanchenko. It's going to be very interesting though to see how much money, if Turkey Al-Sheikh is going to be behind it. Number one, is it going to be in Saudi Arabia? And number two, is it going to be another situation where the pay-per-view that took place? I think that was, I don't know if that was Terence Crawford versus versus Madrimov, but there was a card where the entire undercard was a pay-per-view. And the main event wind up being free on ESPN, or on ESPN2. Just an absolutely just terribly organized collaboration went on. And now if he's back in DAZN and he's fighting these fights on DAZN, I'm just certainly hoping that they don't wind up screwing that over. I've already thinking that they're really hurting Terence Crawford's popularity amongst mainstream sports fans, because they just work it seems like people just work so hard to hide these fights on DAZN. And to have it in the middle of the afternoon in Saudi Arabia, I'm just not a big fan of that. I do like when fights start earlier in the evening so I don't have to stay up till midnight, but there's a difference between doing that and doing it on a Saturday afternoon where people have all kind of stuff that they're used to doing in the afternoon where they're not going to watch that, where they're probably not going to be watching those fights. But again, Turkey Al-Sheikh just wants to, whatever his mentality is, or the people behind the public investment firm fund in Saudi Arabia, whatever their brains are saying about these investments, I just can't see it. But anyway, I like the Sergey Derevyanchenko fight. If he wants to get a warm up, I'm cool with that. I'm not going to say, turn around and say, why don't you fight Jaron Ennis? Why don't you fight this guy? Why don't you fight that guy? If he's aiming for Canelo, Madrimov was a good fight. Errol Spence was a good fight before that. I don't have a problem with him taking a tune-up. Sergey Derevyanchenko would probably be a good tune-up for him, but he also has to be careful and don't screw around and lose to Sergey Derevyanchenko and in a cherry pick gone wrong. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.